Empire of Ashes, Episode 4, The First Crack, written by Mia. The Marchettis kept a box at the opera, and on my 11th night as a married woman, I learned what the box was really for, which was not music. It was a stage. From the gold-railed box, high on the second tier, the family could be seen by the whole city at its most expensive leisure. Seen to be present, seen to be untouchable, seen to have a new young wife in borrowed diamonds at the heir's right hand. Dario had told me to wear the red. I understood, by then, that nothing in this house was ever only about what it appeared to be, and that the red dress was a flag planted on conquered ground. Look what is ours now. I wore it, and I let 300 opera glasses find me, and I smiled the smile of a woman who has chosen her cage and decorated it, and across the gilded house, in a box almost directly opposite ours, I felt someone watching me back. "The Falcons," Sophia murmured, following my gaze, suddenly not bored at all. "Don't stare. The old man's the one in the middle. He and Papa hated each other for 40 years. Dario inheriting hasn't improved things. She'd gone tight around the eyes. They don't usually come where we are. It's a message, them being here tonight." "What's the message?" "That we're not as untouchable as the box says." Sophia's hand found my wrist. "Stay close to Dario tonight, sister. I mean it." I tried to watch the opera. It was something tragic and Italian, all doomed sopranos, and I could not follow a note of it because I was aware of two things with my whole skin: the cold attention coming from the Falcone box opposite, and the warm bulk of my husband at my right hand. Dario sat the way he always sat, perfectly still, and to the whole house he looked like a man at his leisure. But I had lived 11 days in his country now, and I had learned to read him a little, and the stillness had a different quality tonight, a coiled readiness under the calm, like a held breath that has decided not to be a sigh. Halfway through the first act, his hand found mine in the dark of the box, and I let it, telling myself it was for the watchers, that it was only theater. His thumb moved once across my knuckles, slow, absent, and I felt it in places that had nothing to do with theater, and I kept my eyes on the dying soprano and hated how much I did not pull away. "You're not watching the opera," he murmured, not looking at me. "Neither are you."
"No."
A pause. They came to be seen coming. That means they want me watching the box and not the floor. So we leave at the interval, through the front, slowly smiling, and you stay inside the reach of my arm the whole time. His thumb stilled on my hand. "Can you do that? Smile and stay close, no matter what you see." "I buried my father smiling," I said. "I can manage an interval." In the dark, I felt rather than saw him look at me, and for a moment the readiness in him gentled into something else. "No," he said quietly. "You really are not what they told me." The message came at the interval, in the crush of the grand foyer, where the city's wealth flowed between glasses of champagne, and the family had to be among them, smiling, because to flinch from a public room is to admit you can be made to flinch. I felt it before I understood it, the particular change in the air I had first felt at my father's grave, that stillness that moves through a crowd when something dangerous enters it. Dario's hand was at the small of my back, light, courteous, and then it was not light at all. It had closed, and he had moved, turning his body a quarter so that I was suddenly behind his shoulder and the open foyer was in front of it, and his voice when it came was perfectly pleasant and pitched only for me. "When I let go of you," he said, smiling at someone across the room, "you will walk to the left, to Nico, who is by the second pillar. You will not run. Do it now." I did not get the chance. The Falcone men came out of the crowd the way they'd been taught. 3 of them, smooth and unhurried, and the city's beautiful people did not even know to be afraid yet, were still laughing, still drinking, as one of them reached past a senator's wife and took my arm above the elbow in a grip like a closing trap and began, with terrible politeness, to walk me toward a service door. And the whole world narrowed to the iron of his fingers and the realization, cold and total, that I had been wrong about the shape of the danger in my life. I had walked into this family thinking the threat was the family. I had not understood until a stranger's hand closed on my arm in a room full of champagne, that there were older and colder things in this city than the Marchettis, and that I had married into the very front line of them. What happened next happened fast, and I have put it together since from pieces because in the moment I saw only fragments. I saw Dario move. I had thought I'd seen him still. I had never seen him move, and it was the stillness turned inside out. The held thing finally let go. The man holding my arm was on the marble before I understood he had been touched, and the second man made a sound I will not describe. And the third reached inside his coat, and Nico was simply there, the way Nico was always there, and then there was a screaming somewhere, and the lovely crowd was a stampede, and Dario had me, both arms, my back against the cool stone of a pillar, and his body a wall between me and all of it, exactly as he'd promised at the altar that the next 10 minutes were the only thing I had to survive. Look at me. His hands framed my face, and his eyes were black and blown wide, and there was blood on his cuff that was not his. Lena, are you hurt? Look at me.
No.
No. You're all right. He said it to himself as much as to me, fierce, almost shaking. This man I had never seen anything move. You're all right. I have you. And then, low, ragged, into my hair, in a voice stripped of every ounce of his terrible control, he said the thing I would carry with me down into everything that came after. They don't get to have you. Do you understand me? There is no version of this world where they get to take you out of a room while I'm in it.
None.
I'll burn the whole city to the waterline first. It should have frightened me. A man had died on the marble 8 feet away. It did frighten me, but under the fear, in the place I had been so carefully guarding, something rose up to meet the savagery in his voice and answered it, and I understood with despair that Mara, no, that was another life, another girl, that the lawyer had been right to pity me, that I had walked into this house to be the hunter and was discovering, with a man's blood drying on his cuff and his heart slamming against mine, exactly how badly a starved thing can want to be claimed. They took us home through the service tunnels. The family did not explain itself to police. The family was its own law, and the opera would be smoothed over by mourning with money and fear in the usual proportions. I should have been undone. Instead, I was clear, that strange, cold clarity again, the one that had come at the spring of my father's grave. Because in the chaos of the foyer, in the half-second before Dario's world closed around me, I had seen one thing that did not fit. At the edge of the panic, by the service door the Falcone men had been walking me toward, a figure had stood very still and not run with the crowd. A figure I knew. Soft hands, an apologetic stoop, an expensive gray suit. My father's lawyer, Tomas Vela, the man who had slid the marriage across his desk before the funeral. Standing at the exact door I was being carried toward on the night the Falcones came for me, not running. The 4th line of the cipher. His name. I had thought it meant Vela was in my father's ledger as one more corrupt cog. I had not let myself follow it further, because following it further meant a door I did not want to open. Now, in the back of a silent car with Dario's hand still wrapped around mine as though he could not yet make himself let go, I followed it. Vela had handled my father's accounts. Vela had known about the debt before anyone. Vela had drawn up this marriage. And Vela had been standing at the door tonight, calm, while 3 men tried to walk me out of my life. And one more thing, the thing I had refused to look at directly since the morning the 4th line came clear. If Tomas Vela had arranged this marriage, had walked into a grieving girl's life and steered her, gently, inevitably, into the Marchetti house, then either he had done it to save me, as he would surely claim, or he had done it to put me somewhere specific. A board has many squares. Someone had moved me onto this one. And the question that turned my blood to cold water in the back of that silent car was no longer, why did the Marchettis take me in? It was who wanted me inside this house badly enough to bury my father to do it, and whether the answer was sitting beside me with my hand folded into his, or somewhere I had not yet thought to look. I did not believe it was Dario. That was the worst part. After 11 days, I did not believe it was Dario, and I could no longer tell whether that was judgment or weakness. My phone buzzed against my hip. A number I did not know. 1 line. I never wanted any of it. Your father was my friend. Come to the old harbor office alone. Tonight. I'll give you the proof. All of it. Before they realize I've turned.
I'm so sorry, Lena. Hurry.
I don't have long.
TV.
I went, of course. You have read this far. You know by now that I always go toward the thing I should run from. It is the worst of me, and it is the only useful thing about me, and it is, I have come to think, the exact trait my father wrote those 6 lines hoping his daughter would never have to use. I slipped the house the bride's way at last, through the garden gate that no one watched between 2 and 4, with my coat and its 300 photographs and a kitchen knife I am not ashamed of. The old harbor office was my father's once, before the Marchettis, a cramped room above a dead chandlery that smelled of salt and rope and the last 40 years of an honest man's failing fight. The door was open. 1 lamp was lit. Tomas Vela was sitting at my father's old desk, and at first I thought he was waiting for me, and then I came close enough to see the dark spreading down the front of the expensive gray suit, and the way his soft hands were pressed to his middle, and I understood that someone had reached him first. I should have run. Every sensible nerve I owned screamed it. A dying man in an empty office is a door propped open for whoever made him that way, and they are never far. But this was my father's room, with the ghosts of his ledgers in the salt air, and the man bleeding out at his desk had eaten Sunday dinners at our table when I was small, had brought me sugared almonds and called me Piccola, had stood at the back of the funeral he himself had helped arrange, and been unable to look at me. I crossed the room. There was a strong box open and empty on the desk. Papers everywhere, pulled and scattered, as though someone had searched in a great hurry and found exactly what they came for. Whatever proof Vela had meant to give me was already gone, lifted off his body while the warmth was still in it. I think I knew it even as I knelt. I think I knew I had come too late for everything except the one thing a dying man carries out of the world in his mouth. Lena. Blood at the corner of his mouth. His eyes found me and filled with terror, with a grief so old and so total that it stopped me where I stood. You came. I knew. God forgive me. I knew you'd come. You have his stubbornness.
Who did this?
I was on my knees beside him, pressing my hands over his, useless, the warmth going out of him too fast.
Tomas.
Who killed my father. The proof, the 6th line tell me. It was never the Marchettis. The words came out of him in a wet rush, desperate, racing the dark. Lena, listen. Your father found out. That's why it wasn't Dario, it was never Dario. He doesn't even know. The proof is who's really been, he convulsed, and gripped my wrist with the last of a dying man's strength and pulled me down and put his bloody mouth to my ear, and with the final breath in his body, he gave me the name. And the name Tomas Vela died saying was the one name in all the world I was not prepared to hear. The name that broke my careful map of who was hunter and who was prey. The name that meant I had spent 3 months hating the wrong man and sleeping under the roof of the only one who could save me. The name I am not going to be able to make you believe until you understand everything that comes before it. But that is the next part of the story. To be continued in Episode 5. That was Episode 4 of Empire of Ashes. If this one has its hooks in you, the next episode is already waiting. Subscribe so you don't miss it. The complete book is on Amazon, and early episodes plus Dario POV bonus scenes are on my Patreon. Links are in the description.
I've Mia.
Thank you for listening.